Learn to let go. Learn that your peace should matter more than perfection. Hey, you guys, welcome back to Confidence and Coffee. I'm your host, Ashley, and I'm really excited for the year 2025. God gave me a word, and the word is freedom. But with freedom, I truly believe this is my pivot year. With that being said, I want to introduce you guys to a really special person. One of my favorite, if not my favorite person in the world. We talk all the time. We talk every day. We talk when we're using the bathroom. You know, that friend. She's my best friend. Her name's Kristen, and she has so many gifts. And I just remember having conversations with her, one being like, we have so many amazing conversations. Well, this should be on the podcast. This should be on the podcast. And now we're actually making it happen. And we're not overthinking it. We want it to be conversational. You guys know that my table is always growing, and you're part of that table and you belong. And so I want to bring somebody else in that also makes you feel like you're a part of the conversation, because we're not mean girls here. And our clique is not a clique, and our table is not filled up. And we always want to have an open door into relationships and fellowships and, you know, being relatable and connected and, you know, all of those things. So it is my honor to welcome Kristen here. And she's going to dive into me this year with our series starting in 2025, which I'm really excited about. Just like about the new year. You know, you guys know, or you've heard me before if you followed me for a long time, I have a word of the year. This year's freedom. With that comes goals, or the worldly aspect is New Year's resolutions, where you'll get on social media and there'll be challenges. What does that look like for the Christian? What does that look like for somebody whose circumstances like me, who came into the new year very sick with the flu, strep throat ear infection? It's not a good way to start the new year, but God is in control. And so we're going to cover those topics and just kind of like what we've been doing to really refresh what God wants to do in our pivot year. So I welcome Kristen, who is a busy mom of 6, and her husband. She has a great story, who struggles with mental illness, and she's very open in that regard. So Kristen, welcome to Confidence and Coffee. Finally, it's not like we haven't tried to make this happen like a million times. So
Right.
I was like, we're recording like now, like, let's go, let's get it.
I'm so excited to be here. I wish that we could have made it happen in person when I was there in town. Like, that would have been the best, because I feel like our in-person interactions are so different. I'm just excited to finally do this with you. We've been talking about it for like the better part of a year and a half. So here we are.
Yeah. Well, so we've talked about this before, about the pivot of the new year, and 2024 was the worst year of my life. I'm not shy about that. And then you've had a couple worst years. I think we've all had really bad years since 2020. And it's just been like the worst years of, and the struggles and the recession for a lot of people. I see like there's this like really phenomenon of people who have these crazy struggles of grief and financial ruin and mental health illness and death. And so like you're one of those people. And it's almost
everyone
like,
I'm talking to, everyone I talk to, everyone's going through it. Everybody's struggling. Everybody's tight financially. Everybody's going through some kind of spiritual hardship or physical illness or ailments. Marriage is crumbling. Like, everybody's going through a lot of, I'd say it's spiritual warfare. We're going through a wave of spiritual warfare, especially, I feel like it's everyone, but I see it especially in my Christian friends. I feel like the enemy is just really attacking hard.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's too the gifts that God has given me the last 4 years, seeing, you know, demonic entities and angels. Like, I've always spoken in tongues, and I've grown throughout my gifts, and my gifts have grown, but I can see the spiritual entity world and I go battle for it. I can see when there's a presence in my home or something trying to attach to my children, because Christians, you are not exempt from being attacked just because you have salvation. Please don't let anybody lie to you. You're literally the one person that the enemy is going to come after, and they're hungry, and they're going to find gateways and open doors to try to come in and suffocate you and destroy your life. And there's a pattern. And that's for like a whole nother episode where we can talk about the demonic plan of the enemy, because God revealed it to me. I've experienced it and my family has experienced it. But yeah, I completely agree. We are definitely in the end times, and time is different for God than it is for us. So what do we do at that time? When we think of going into the new year, it's almost like it's supposed to be a time that is exciting. It's supposed to be like a time that is like, you're looking forward to this new thing, this fresh hope. But here lately, I don't know about you, but it's almost scary because of the pattern of how hard it's been. I don't know about anybody else that's listening, but it's not more like, wow, God, I can't wait for what you have for me in the next year. More so, if I'm being honest, like I'm really scared of what you want to prune next, Lord. What is going to happen in this year? I'm really kind of scared because I experienced so much loss. But at the same time, Kristen, like it's so insane. And maybe we can touch on that because in the same way that I've had the worst year of my life, I've had the best year of my life because I published my book, my book came out to the world. And I've had interviews with people that I wouldn't even dream of. I got to get closure in some areas of my life. But then in other aspects, like it's been like insane. So
we always go into this each year with like this expectancy, like this is going to be the year that it's better. Last year was so hard, and it's almost like we go into the new year thinking, oh, it's all going to change just because it's a new year. But then when we're still met with hardship and when it doesn't get better, when we still face more and more hardships, we start to get discouraged. And so I think that's why going into 2025, we do have some apprehension because it has been since like 2020, since everything shut down, life has been so different. If you look at how different life was in 2019 versus like 2021, you wouldn't recognize it. It's so different. And the hardships just piled on and piled on and piled on. And everybody's struggling. The inflation is up. It's so hard. And we're going into this year thinking, when's the next shoe going to drop this year? Because it's been every year we're like, okay, this year's going to be better. It's finally going to be better. And then it doesn't get better. And so you're just left with disappointment and frustration and feeling worn down. And we're all burnt out. We're all burnt out from the hustle of like trying to get ahead, and we can't do it anymore. I don't know about you, but my body's failing me. I'm at this point where like, I pushed and pushed and has been taking care of so many people for so long that now my body's like, hey, pay attention to me. And it's failing on me. And so I think you talk about your word being freedom. And that really resonates with me because I feel like we're all so tied down by these expectations that not necessarily anybody else has for us, but that we have for ourselves, that we're putting on ourselves. God doesn't expect this hustle culture. God doesn't expect us to meet all of these extravagant business goals. He just wants us to pursue relationship with him.
Yeah.
So I think, yes, aim for goals, but start your view of every day and every situation off by just looking to Christ. Like, what do you have for me today? Because if we are expecting things from him, we won't be let down, and we'll be able to nourish ourselves and nourish our bodies and nourish our spirits so much more than if we're just waking up and hustling and trying to keep pushing when we're so burnt out.
Yeah. And I try to remember, because I struggle with that, like where I put off my Bible time because I think it should look a certain way. And so I'm more so procrastinating it because the way we believe something should look like, or we should plan like, and we make things complicated when God was so simple. And when I get to that where I'm like, oh, I'm thinking about work and I'm thinking about my to-do list and I haven't even spent my time in my devotional, I remember that the fish and the loaf. And miraculously, every single time that I spend time with God, I actually have more time and I've been more productive to do the things on my to-do list. I think obviously we need to make goals, but I think instead of goals, I think we should rephrase it into discipline. I don't think that we should focus on these outwardly goals more so as we should focus inwardly with discipline and understanding that God comes first. I was talking to my kids last night and I was like telling them, because they get into these negative thinking patterns. And I was like, you know what? I am tired of the stinking thinking. I'm tired of the complaints. You guys get onto a tangent and then you just keep going and going into this negativity. This is the year of freedom. This is the year of positive expectations of the Lord. But we have to be careful when we have faith in the positive expectations of the Lord that we aren't defining that for what we think it should look like. Right. Because we're always going to be disappointed every time. So
That's so easy to do too. That's such an
yeah,
easy
and so
rut to get stuck in.
I think it's like, how do I have expectations of the Lord this year? As the Bible says, his promises are always yes and amen. And then also not stick my fleshly, what I understand desires into that. How do I do that? And so I think we really need to discern the Holy Spirit. I know that I've learned that anything from God is not forced. It's from faith and it's not forced. So it should never feel forced when God makes favor. Favor is not forced. Favor is very natural. So everything with the Lord should feel very natural. You should just kind of come into it. And I know that sounds mediocre and cliche and easier said than done, but I'm a testament of that. Anything that I have tried to make happen failed every single time.
Oh, so true. Same.
Anything I tried to make happen in my time got completely put off even more so. But anything where I like stood still and I spent time with the Lord and I stood my ground and I was patient in the waiting and in the pruning, I remember that God is bigger than me. God is a refiner and I can't stop his refining. He loves me too much, and that it will feel natural. And I always go back onto all the promises that he was faithful in. So it's like, can we dwell on the past? I'm getting off a little bit, but like dwelling on the faithful, writing down the list of things that God did do for you. Where was God faithful for you? And then remembering that experience, remembering those feelings, and then understanding and believing that God is the same God today, yesterday, and forever. And then going into that year, because, you know, we're going to face trials, but the Lord is faithful in the midst of his trials. And I think that we should have one realistic discipline, and that should be pressing into the Lord. And my devotional this morning was about putting like one foot in front of the other. And it was about praying. How do we show up when we don't feel God? We don't see God. Life sucks. You choose to pray even though he feels far away. You choose to show up even though it seems like he's not there. You choose to believe even when you don't see things happening. It really comes down to your choice and not looking outwardly for signs and wonders, but knowing inwardly that God is faithful and that it should feel natural and that you don't have to be afraid, and it's okay to wait. It's okay to be patient.
Wait with open hands.
Yeah.
Wait with open hands.
Yeah. And what can we do in that time? That's what I want to talk about too. What can we do in our waiting seasons? What is realistic? Like if I go into the year, I feel like God has got something for me, but I don't know what it is. But at the same time, I'm scared. I learned that there are things that I can control. So there's things where it's like I can take control of my body. I was introduced and presented with this opportunity with Magic Mind, really amazing. And I know that I can educate myself, which is what you're good at. You educated me into all these very natural and organic ways to take care of myself in the waiting, in the patient, inwardly things. What can I do inwardly? Like those kind of things. Do you want to talk about that?
Oh, okay. Just because we're waiting on God doesn't mean that all of our daily responsibilities go away. What are my responsibilities today? What can I do today to honor God in different areas of my life, different aspects of my life? And, you know, one of those may be just feeding yourself nourishing foods, putting nutritious items on your table for your children to eat, for you to eat, taking supplements that you know are going to benefit your body and help them thrive versus allowing hormone disruptors, things like that into your home that are going to cause illness or cause disruptions in your children's brains and how they think and how they behave. All of those things are things that you can control. You can control what's in your home. You can control the things that you're putting into your bodies. You can control your movements throughout the day. So you wake up, you meet God with expectant hands open for what he has for you that day, ask him to fill you up, and then you just do your responsibilities. And putting good things in your body is something that God calls us to do. He tells us to do, to take care of our temples. Does that mean we obsess over it? No. But we do need to honor honor our bodies. We do need to honor them.
Yes. Well, I know that with trials comes mental health struggles. Like, I am so grateful that we're a part of a generation that is so open about talking about mental health. And Christians, especially, like, we're talking about it more in the church. And I'm really grateful for that because my mental health, I'm on a journey. I'm still on a journey with my mental health. I'm all about therapy, theology, and medication. And so, but I try really, really hard to do things as natural as possible. I'm a realist, so I believe in medicine, but at the same time, what are things that could also come alongside the medication and come alongside therapy and come alongside my relationship with the Lord and help me these natural ways that I can control and I can do. I don't know if a lot of you guys know, I've talked about my postpartum depression journey and my mental health journey. You know, I suffer from complex PTSD. And I also suffer from anxiety disorder, depression disorder. I am not those things, but I struggle with those things. There's a real chemical imbalance in your brain, and your brain overworks itself in ways that it shouldn't have to. In the last year of 2024, I struggled really bad with overwhelm, burnout, and because of the stress that I was dealing with, I just had a lack of focus. My mental health was literally deteriorating. Like, your body was physically deteriorating, because that's what stress does. Mental health is a part of that freedom aspect. Like, freedom is the year of 2025 for me. And I want to be free in every area of my life. And mental health was one of those areas. And so I invested in that. I invested in my mental health and in my habits. Focus on your mental health this year. Who cares if it's February? Who cares if it's not January 1st? Who cares if you are behind? You are here now. Kristen and I want to, we're talking to you, encouraging you, but we want to give you, obviously, practical strategies.
Right. We're all about health and wellness, but also functional health and wellness too. We're not just, go get a doctor, get a pill, but we're also, there's natural things that can kind of supplement that. Our household's like that. My husband is on medications, really strong medications for his mental health, but we work with a functional medicine doctor to supplement the things that his body needs to support his overall system. I don't know if you know this, but sleep is one of the most important things for your brain health. If you are not getting 8 hours of sleep every night, your brain doesn't have enough time to heal. If you have any chemical imbalances or any issues in your brain that you're struggling with mental health, you're setting yourself back by not getting adequate sleep because your brain doesn't have the time to heal itself during your sleep cycle. Right now, I'm in a season with a lot of babies. I've had newborn after newborn, and we all know the newborn season, you're not sleeping. You're up and you're feeding and you're taking care of crying baby. And so I'm not getting adequate sleep. And so those 3-hour stretches of sleep, my brain is not getting into that state where it's able to fully heal itself. That's why a lot of women struggle with postpartum depression more than they normally would if they got adequate sleep and they weren't having to get up with a crying baby every night. Their depression heightens not only because of the massive hormone shift after having a baby, but then your brain is not able to fully heal because you're not getting enough sleep, enough restful, deep REM sleep. And so if you can find supplements, if you can find things that you can add into your daily routine to help those issues, to help balance your chemicals in your brain, help you get better restful sleep, even if you're only getting a little bit of sleep, even if it's only 3 or 4 hours, if you can get that deep restful sleep in those 3 or 4 hours, it's going to give your brain a better chance to heal versus if you're getting very restless sleep, very up and down, tossing and turning, which so often we overlook the importance of sleep for mental health.
Like, sleep is so inconvenient. Like, I don't need sleep. Sleep takes up my time.
It's such a waste of time. Yeah, no, I feel
sleep.
I
need more.
It's like a mind thing.
Energy. Like, what is it for you? I don't care about sleep. It's energy. I don't know. Like, it really is important. Kristen and I want to give you, practical ways that you can, no matter where, no matter the month, no matter the day, no matter the circumstance, you can have discipline, focus on your mental health. What is your freedom goal? Your freedom goal. I think I'm calling it like a million hundred things now.
Your freedom disciplines.
Our number one thing is like, think of the loaves and the fish and spend time with the Lord in the morning. Make that a priority, is growing your relationship with Christ. The second thing is focus on your mental health. Really start investing in your mental health so you can take on these challenges and be able to not have to face so much burnout or discouragement, not come to these walls that leave you feeling completely exhausted or crashed. And then the third one, Kristen, that we want to talk about when going into a new year, we should also talk about food because, food is expensive. And I think, what is the balance? How do we buy organic and natural without breaking the bank and feeling like we are giving ourselves and our families nourishing food without all the extra yucky stuff? You're better at...
Well, yeah, I think this might intimidate some people, honestly, because the way I do it, and, we have a really tight budget for everything. I've got 6 kids and 5 of them eat every day.
Her kids eat a lot.
They eat a lot. So I still have one that's mainly breastfeeding. She does do a little bit of food right now, but most of my kids are eating full meals every day, and they eat a lot. My kids are like bottomless pits, and we try to eat organic and as natural as we can because my husband has Lyme disease and other autoimmune illnesses that we have also passed down to some of our children. So we're very, very intentional about the food that we bring into our home. But this might intimidate some people because we are an ingredient household. We keep our budget under $1,000 for food every month for our family of 8. I try not to spend more than $1,000. We're usually right around $800 a month on our groceries, which probably sounds insane that we have 8 people and we're only spending $100 a month per person. And I'm sure that number will increase as my boys get older and become teenagers because I have 4 boys. But I definitely say that the best way to do that is to focus on making things yourself. So, for example, Ashley, your daughter loves those Uncrustable sandwiches. Well, my son loves them too. My 5-year-old and your 5-year-old are the same. They love those Uncrustable sandwiches.
Your kids love all my food because I found them all in the couch cushions and underneath the couch and underneath the bed.
If there's food, they will find it. They'll sniff it out. But yes, so my 5-year-old and your 5-year-old, they're only a few days apart. They're both our pickiest eaters, right?
Yeah.
Gracelyn and Asa, they're our pickiest eaters. They're so hard to get to eat. They love those Uncrustable sandwiches. Well, I make them at home. I make homemade sourdough bread, sandwich bread, our own peanut butter. And then sometimes I buy store-bought organic jam or jelly. Sometimes I make it at home. It just depends on how much time I have each week. But we go through the jam in our house. My kids love it on everything. So I make those myself, and I have one of those little cutters, and I cut the crust off, and we save the crust for my 1.5-year-old because he'll eat anything, and there's usually some leftovers of that. So, for example, just becoming an ingredient household, making those myself versus buying the packaged Uncrustables from the store, it saves me a lot of money. So if you just go down back to basic ingredients, and the more that you make at home, the less ingredients it's going to have in it. And a lot of those added ingredients that you see in the store on those store-bought processed foods, those are all chemical hormone disruptors. They're going to cause issues for your health, for your kids' brains. There's food coloring in things. And I don't know if you've heard that they're starting to say now, hey, red dye 40 is not good for your brain. They're starting to come out and say that, which I've been saying this to people for years. A lot of us that are in that health and wellness mentality space have been saying it. Now they're finally admitting to it. Red dye 40 is in so much. I have 3 kids. If they have any red food coloring, behavior off the charts.
It really does affect them. Yeah, same with my kids. Yeah, it's banned in other countries. Like you said, why are we so behind? I'm going to shut my mouth.
You think we're one of the most developed nations, but we're so behind in a lot of these areas.
It's frustrating that eating naturally is so difficult, but I'm not here to complain because that's not the year that we're doing that.
I think we've made it more difficult than it has to be. We're very basic. You don't have to make it complicated, but just go back to basic ingredients and making more things yourself versus buying store-bought conveniences. But your kids are going to eat what you give them. If you don't have it in the house, they don't have the option to eat it. Right? So just going back to the basics is what I would say, and just start small. I know it's a hard thing to change over your entire pantry and your family's entire diet. Start with one thing instead of Instead of buying the sugary cereal, let's buy something organic and with a lot less sugar in it. So like we go back to basic oatmeal. Have just like plain oatmeal in your house. Make that for your kids.
I think eating healthy, like, because we've been making our own bread and like instead of buying like the shredded cheese because they put like something on it, I think it's a transition. It's a slow transition, and you don't need to get overwhelmed by thinking you need to take the steps all at the same time. Just take little steps like that. Those make you feel good. A little step each week, like of, transitioning your eating habits. And the habit is the word. Changing a habit is like the next encouragement, which we'll go into for our point 3. But eating habit, it's not necessarily like the food per se, but more of creating healthy habits, right? It's actually not that hard to make your own bread. Like, it's really not that hard. Like, I have become the main cook in my house, and I was not for a really long time. And I enjoy it. Like, we don't do deli meat, but my kids love sandwiches. So we go to Costco and we buy, those big things of turkey and ham, and I slice them for sandwiches and I make my own bread. Or if I'm in a pickle, like I grab a rotisserie chicken. You can do like 100 different things with rotisserie chicken. I've made my own muffins. It's not really that difficult. These things that you can make that are more healthy are actually, I'm sure you have in your house. I'm sure you have flour in your house, okay? I'm sure you have vanilla and maple syrup in your house, right? Maple syrup is another substitute instead of sugar if you want to make chocolate granola. Bananas, you can do a million things with bananas and eggs. You just have to like take the time and create these habits of making this stuff. My family, like my kids love making stuff with me. Like I have older children. I don't suggest that your kids, if they're Kristen's age, help you make stuff because that would drive me up the wall.
My kids do.
It would not be fun. It would not be fun for me. My kids are older than Kristen's kids, but they're like my family, her kids are. And they like to bake. Her oldest likes to make a mess when she bakes, and it makes me insane. I just have to walk out of the kitchen because I'm like, I don't want you baking in my kitchen ever again. I love that you love to do this and I encourage it, but you're not baking in Aunt Ashley's kitchen again. Okay? Like, I love that for you. Like, I really do. But this mess, my OCD can't handle it, which talks about habits. So another thing I actually have on my heart to talk about is organization. I don't know about other people, but I feel more at peace when my sanctuary, my home is clean. I make my bed every morning when I get up. I make my kids make their bed every morning. I have older children now who have to do their own laundry and they have to fold it and they have to put it away. I feel better when my house is tidy. Not necessarily deep clean, like I'll deep clean it maybe once or twice a month, but I tidy it up every day. I start a load of laundry every day and it makes me feel more productive. It makes me feel better. And I think those are things that can really help us with our mental health and clarity, is creating those like organization habits, cleaning out a drawer a day. Make it a habit every week to go through your drawers and like throw crap away. Like, why do you still have the broken lighter? Why? Why do you still have it in your drawer? Why do you have the birthday candles? Okay, they're $1 a pack. Throw away the birthday candles, okay? We don't need all the things. And you don't need to keep every child's artwork, okay? Recycle it through. Have it through. Like we have those picture frames that you can open up and add a new picture in it, and we recycle it through. We throw some stuff away. You know what I'm saying? We don't need every single piece of art.
So here's something that we do. We take a picture of it and I put it in an album for my kids. If they love it so much that they don't want me to throw it away, I'll be like, hey, let me take a picture of it. We don't have room for it in the house or in the file box because it's full. So let's take a picture of it. And that way we always have it. And so that's one way that you can do it. I know a lot of moms that have done that too. They take a picture and they have like a special album in their computer or on their hard drive that they keep all their kids' artwork pictures so that they never feel like they lost a piece of art, because my kids get so upset when we throw their art away too. But that way they feel like we still have it.
It's like the end of the world when you do it.
I know. The worst is when you throw it away. You like try to throw it away and then they find it in the trash can.
I just hide it from them. Is there anything else you want to add on that?
Yeah, so we have a whole schedule for like room by room, what we clean every week. We have the basic tidying schedule of them making their beds, tidying up their room, but then we'll go through and really more intentionally clean one room a week. So it starts with the living room, then we do the kitchen. Like the kitchen, we're always cleaning every night. But as far as like going through and purging some things, because things build up, or going through the refrigerator, we try to do that and cycle through every couple weeks. We'll go through and intentionally purge and clean out one room in the house. So
yeah. Well, Kristen, I think, is more laid back than I am in regard of organization because she had to be. She lived in an RV. Her husband got sick. She has 6 young, very, very young children. Mine are 15 to 5. And so very different season of life. But, Kristen, I love her perspective is there's a lot of things I've just had to let go, like the perfectionist aspect of the organization and the folding, and you have bins for your kids because of the season of life you're in. These habits can be temporary. They don't have to be permanent. For her season, she's just putting things in bins. This is, her child's bin. This is the other child's bin, just to make her life simplified so she doesn't get angry at her kids over things that don't really matter. And she can stay regulated and she can have peace in her home, choosing your battles. And then in another season, when they get older, you can teach them how to fold their clothes like my kids, and you can teach them how to organize, and you can have those times. I think that we also need to be flexible. Our 5th habit that I encourage you guys to go into this 2025 in discipline is grace, flexibility. I think flexibility also brings freedom. And that can be in everything that we're talking about. And that can also be in relationships. We need to be flexible with people that maybe Kristen and I are best friends, but we are in very different seasons. We're in different states, and we have to be flexible with one another. We have to be understanding to keep our relationship maintained, that it may look different for certain periods of times. We may not get to talk all the time. Even in your marriage, if you were in a season where you guys were lovey-dovey, you could travel the world and maybe you have a new baby and you can't. That doesn't mean there's something wrong with your relationship or that you're going on into destruction. You're just going to have to get more flexible and do things for a temporary time because you're in that temporary season to be able to take on that challenge in a very peaceful manner. I think that flexibility should be a goal for this year. You want to talk about that?
I think that all goes hand in hand with patience too. In order for us to be flexible, in order for us to have grace, we have to have a lot of patience and be willing to adapt as life comes along. I think that's one of the main reasons why I haven't lost my mind in the midst of having 6 kids and the last 3 really close together, kind of unexpectedly and unplanned. My husband getting sick and our life being uprooted and everything kind of getting turned upside down. You have to be flexible, but also very patient and willing to adapt to the circumstances that you're faced with. And I feel like that ties back into your first point of just getting up every morning and leaning into the Lord. If we can just lead into him, he's going to give us the grace. He's going to give us the patience. He's going to give us that ability to adapt to our circumstances versus us trying to do it in our own strength because we want things the way we want them.
Yeah.
That's our natural human nature to have expectations and have desires, and there's nothing wrong with that. But our expectations and our desires may not always line up with what God has for us.
I think that we need to remember when we feel overwhelmed, when we start to feel the feeling, because it is a feeling, it's an emotion, overwhelm, surprise, anger, happiness. These are emotions. Emotions are good. Emotions help us discern. Emotions help us regulate. Emotions help us figure out how to adapt and when to checks in with us. We need to check in with ourselves. And we need to learn how to be flexible and be kind to ourselves and to others and be more understanding and learn to let go. Learn that your peace should matter more than perfection. Protect your peace, even if that means letting go of perfection. And I know because I'm a perfectionist, but I, prioritize peace. So
yeah,
I'm really glad that we did this. And I'm really excited for the next series because if you guys, are listening, regulars, my little regulars, my news, tune in for this series. We are talking about what's important, what is important for 2025, mindset changes, and goals that we have. And I'm dedicating this series to my brand new book, Confidence is an Inside Job, because that's the secret sauce, my friends. Is that confidence, and you need that in every aspect. And that's the one thing that the enemy wants to take away from you, because if he can take away your confidence, he can take away your community, He can take away your connection, and ultimately he'll try to take away Christ from you. We don't want that to happen. So Kristen and I are going to encourage you to keep building that. We love you so much. If you loved this episode, go right now, okay? I challenge you right now, my friend, to park your car, put your coffee down, flush the toilet, whatever you need to do, and go leave a rating, a review, subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm like literally celebrating because I looked on YouTube and we are verified. I didn't even try. That's Jesus. Glory to the Lord, because he is faithful. And so make sure you go check us out there. It's my name. Tag us on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, we're everywhere. And share with us what value this episode brought to you. And so we can also celebrate you as well. We love you guys, and we'll see you next Tuesday on Confidence and Coffee.